So we had one event that was with, I would say an artist, but she doesn't call herself an artist, Lena Geznek. She calls herself a vegetable weaver. So we had an event at Centre Paul Roulant where, well, the proceeds went to Centre Paul Roulant, so that's kind of how the partnership worked in that sense, and they let us use their space. And it was a Valentine's Day event, so she showed people how to carve roses from local root vegetables. So it was a sustainable way of giving someone a flower for Valentine's Day instead of supporting the cut flower industry. And you could actually eat the flower too, it was delicious. So that's another example of a very different event. Another one, I arranged for a tour bus. It was a little yellow school bus, actually, to take people out to a modern dairy farm just outside the city, actually on the Ontario side of the border. And I worked with an artist called Joanna Autain. She's from France, but she actually lived here for a long time. She's gone back now, but she was living here and doing her master's here at Concordia. And her work was with small farmers, and she had done interviews with small farmers. And so we transformed the bus into an installation space, and people could listen to those interviews. They were actually invited to record their own interviews as well about experiences on farms. And they sampled sheep cheeses on the bus and local teas. And then we did a tour of the modern dairy farm, and people were able to talk to the farmer about how a modern dairy farm works. And for, I think maybe everybody on that tour is their first experience of a modern dairy farm. We don't usually come into contact with that as city dwellers, right? So, and then one last, I guess I would mention as an example, because I referred to it, the tour along the Lachine Canal. That was with Eric Moskapetis and Mia Rushton, who are two artists based in Calgary. And they created this mobile popsicle cart, and they spent some time doing research of that area along the Lachine Canal and what kind of plants grow there in the wild of the city. And they researched the uses of those plants, and they created pairings. So I think there were 3 different flavors of popsicles that they made with a different pairing in each case of 2 local plants. So for instance, there was one popsicle that paired what they called a utilitarian pear plant. So it grows pear fruit that you can actually eat, and a beautifying juniper plant, which people use to create barriers around their property, right? So bringing together this kind of working class plant with a beautifying plant, and then we stopped the tour at various points, and people were given popsicles and literally got to ingest the neighborhood, and became a way of talking about class and gentrification and how we use public space. So I think just in those few examples of projects, you get a sense of what kind of food performances happen at the events, but also that it's a huge range of different things. And like I said earlier, it's directed by the practices of the artists that I work with.